The storm rolled in over the horizon as if summoned by the fury in Chelsea's chest. Rain lashed against the tall glass windows of the penthouse suite, thunder growling like the growl inside her. She stood barefoot in the living room, her phone clutched in her trembling hand, her heart thudding like a war drum. Across the room, Sandra stared at her with wide, tear-glossed eyes. "You met him in Paris?" Chelsea asked, voice tight. Sandra nodded slowly. "At a gallery opening. He was charming, mysterious. He said he was a collector. His name was D'Angelo." Chelsea closed her eyes. She remembered Rome, the art exhibition, D'Angelo, the way his dark eyes had made promises they hadn't yet spoken, the way he kissed her by the Tiber, as if the world wasn't watching. "You fell for him too," Chelsea whispered, barely able to breathe. Sandra didn't reply. She didn't have to. They were identical in every way, mirror images of each other. Except now, it felt like they were enemies. Chelsea stepped closer. "You knew I loved someone. I didn't know it was him, not until just now." "Bullshit! You think I'd do this to you?" Sandra snapped, her voice cracking like the sky outside. "I loved him. I still do." Chelsea threw her phone at the couch and turned away. Every memory of D'Angelo, every tender word, every whispered lie, was now a knife in her chest. He'd played them both, or had he? It started innocently, a chance meeting. D'Angelo, the charming art dealer with a past he rarely spoke of. Chelsea met him in Rome, Sandra in Paris. Neither of them knew they were falling into the same trap. Chelsea remembered him telling her he was alone in the world, that he'd lost family, was running from things he couldn't name. She'd held him through the night, through the lies. Sandra remembered his passion for beauty, for hidden things, for secrets. It wasn't until Chelsea returned to New York that it began to unravel. A ring she found in his jacket, identical to the one Sandra had worn in a photo on her phone. A photo she'd thought nothing of at first, until now. Then the encrypted email arrived. One sentence: "They are watching you. He is not who he says he is." Now they sat in silence, thunder rumbling like an omen. Sandra finally spoke. "There's more. I found a dossier, hidden under the floorboards of his place in Montmartre." Chelsea turned sharply. "What kind of dossier?" "Names, codes, photos. One of them was me, and you." Her blood ran cold. "What the hell is he?" "I think he's a spy or something worse." Suddenly the power went out. The city plunged into darkness, the only light from the flickering storm outside. And in that moment, they both felt it. He was near. The elevator dinged. Chelsea grabbed the letter opener from the table. Sandra picked up the poker from the fireplace. Their love had become a weapon, their heartbreak, their armor. The door opened. D'Angelo stood there, drenched in rain, his dark hair plastered to his forehead, his eyes calm and unreadable. "I can explain," he said. Chelsea stepped forward. "You better start talking fast." D'Angelo raised his hand slowly, not in surrender, but in calculated caution. "I didn't mean for this to happen," he said, his voice deep and strangely soothing even now. "You weren't supposed to know about each other." Sandra's grip on the fireplace poker tightened. "And why's that, D'Angelo? Because it was easier to lie when we didn't compare notes?" Chelsea's heart thundered louder than the storm. "Who are you really?" He looked at them, really looked, and something shifted behind his eyes, like he dropped a mask he hadn't realized he was still wearing. "My name is not D'Angelo, it's Kane Mercer. I was sent to keep tabs on a man named Viktor Baranov. He's dangerous, connected to illegal arms, black market tech, and high-value art laundering. He's been using galleries across Europe and the States to move pieces encoded with biometric data. Hidden intel. You two. You were pawns, but you were never supposed to get hurt." Sandra's voice cracked. "And yet, here we are." Kane stepped inside slowly, shutting the door behind him. "I was only supposed to get close enough to track a specific painting. But then I met Chelsea, and in Paris, I didn't expect to see Sandra." "You used us." Chelsea's voice shook. "You played us against each other without even knowing it." Kane's jaw clenched. "I didn't expect to fall in love with both of you." The sisters stared at him, stunned. "What kind of monster says that like it's a good thing?" Sandra asked, tears welling. I was trained to manipulate, to deceive, he said, stepping closer. But nothing prepared me for you, either of you. The silence was sharp enough to cut bone. Then the window behind them shattered. A dart embedded itself in the wall. Chelsea dove to the ground. Sandra screamed, ducking behind the couch. Kane pulled a small pistol from beneath his coat and shouted, "Get down!" The door burst open again. This time, masked men in tactical gear stormed in. Chelsea barely had time to process it before Kane tackled one, disarming him with brutal efficiency. The room exploded into chaos. Grunts, gunfire, shattered glass. Sandra crawled toward the letter opener, flung it toward Chelsea. She caught it and buried it in one attacker's thigh. He screamed and collapsed. Kane shot another in the shoulder, then grabbed Chelsea's wrist. "We need to move, now!" "Where's Sandra?" Chelsea shouted. "I'm here!" Sandra popped up, bruised but alive, and together the three of them sprinted into the emergency stairwell, the sounds of violence echoing behind them. As they descended, Chelsea glanced at Kane. "So Victor found us?" "No," he panted, checking corners. "He found me, but now he knows you two are involved." Sandra's voice was icy. "You put targets on our backs." "I'll fix it," Kane said, his voice dark with intent. "I swear." Chelsea stopped on the stairs. "No, we'll fix it. You don't get to protect us. You owe us the truth." He turned, breathing hard, the shadows dancing over his face. "Then you should know," he said. "That painting Victor wants? The one encoded with biometric data? It's not just tech. It's a kill switch. Whoever has it can shut down entire defense systems across Europe. And I think one of you knows where it is." Chelsea froze. So did Sandra. "What did you just say?" they asked in unison. The gallery was dim, sleek, and filled with wealthy ghosts, smiling diplomats, arms dealers in tailored suits, and art collectors with blood on their hands. In the center, under a single spotlight, hung the painting, the silent choir, an eerie oil canvas of faceless monks standing before a burning cathedral. Sandra stood in front of it, transfixed. She didn't know why, but the painting made her chest tighten. Something about the way the figures were arranged felt like a message, and the symbols etched subtly in the shadows, barely visible, were familiar, like something she'd doodled as a child. A man in a dark coat approached her. He was young, sharp-jawed, eyes like thunderclouds. "Kane, you're drawn to it," he'd said softly. "Most people look away. You're not like most people." She smiled, disarmed. "You say that like it's a good thing." Back then, she didn't know his name. She didn't know the painting was a lock. And she, unknowingly, was the key. Sandra stared at Kane, the weight of his words crashing down. "You think I know where the painting is?" she asked, eyes wild. "Why would I—" "You looked at it too long. There's biometric feedback encoded into the pigments. It scans for unique neural patterns, responses only triggered by certain minds. It responded to you, Sandra. You activated it." Chelsea's eyes widened. "That's why Victor wants her." "He doesn't just want her," Kane said. "He wants to use her. With her response pattern, he can decrypt the kill switch embedded in the painting. It's a map and a trigger combined. But there's more." "Of course there is," Sandra muttered. Kane continued. "The painting is gone, hidden after Prague, but I traced it to someone else." He turned to Chelsea. "Your father." Chelsea froze. "That's not possible." "You told me once he was a military consultant, had ties with NATO, that he went missing under suspicious circumstances. What if he never left? What if he was protecting the painting all along?" Sandra stared at her sister. "You never told me that." "I didn't think it mattered." Kane's voice dropped. "It matters now, because if your father had the painting, and Victor knows that—" Chelsea's phone buzzed. A single message. Unknown sender. "He's alive. 72 hours. Trade the painting or lose him." Chelsea's breath caught. Sandra grabbed her hand, eyes locked on the message. Kane looked between them. "Then we're out of time." Viktor Baranov stood in the shadows of a steel room, watching the security feed. In the chair across from him sat a man, bound, bloodied, but not broken. He had Chelsea's eyes, Sandra's stubborn jaw. "You thought hiding it would save them," Victor said in a quiet, accented voice. "But you made it worse." The man didn't flinch. "They're smarter than you think," Victor smirked. Good. I like a challenge. Back in New York, Chelsea gripped the phone like it might shatter in her palm. Sandra looked to Kane. If we're going after Victor, we need help. We need allies. Kane nodded. Then there's someone I need to call. But once we go down this road, there's no turning back. Chelsea's voice was steel. We pass. Said that line when he took our father. Sandra stepped beside her. Let's burn everything he built. Kane took out a secured comms device and typed in a code. Then let's start with Prague. The game had changed. Love was shattered. Blood was in the water. And now, it was war. The twins were 9 years old the first time they saw their father break a man's arm. They were in the woods behind their home, playing hide-and-seek near the creek, when 3 strangers in suits showed up at the house. Chelsea had climbed a tree. Sandra was hiding under the back porch. They heard raised voices, a struggle, then a sickening snap. By the time they peeked through the bushes, the strangers were gone. One limped toward a black car, clutching his arm. Their father, still calm, walked back into the house like it was nothing. Not a drop of blood on him. Later that night, he tucked them in as usual, kissed their foreheads, told them, "No matter what you see, I'm always on your side." But neither of them ever forgot the sound of that bone breaking. He was a quiet man, reserved, brilliant in strange ways. He taught them how to solve puzzles, crack codes, recognize patterns in things no child should understand. Muscle memory games, memory palaces, languages. Chelsea soaked up the logic, the strategy. Sandra thrived in the chaos, the intuition. But one day, he vanished. The girls were 16, a supposed accident during a contract consult in Turkey. But there was no body, no closure, just silence. The cold bit through Chelsea's coat as they stood outside a forgotten bell tower near Old Town Square. Kane was on point, scanning the alley through night vision goggles. Sandra crouched near an old steel grate, working quickly with a stolen keycode device. "This is where your father stored the last recorded data packet," Kane whispered, "encrypted in an old Soviet signal vault beneath the tower. If we're lucky, it'll lead us to the painting." "If we're unlucky?" Sandra asked. Kane glanced at her. "It'll lead Victor straight to us." The grate popped open. A gust of stale air hit them, and they dropped into darkness. They descended through a forgotten Soviet bunker layered with rusted wires, waterlogged files, and hollow echoes. At the end of the hall was a vault door. Kane moved to it, pulling out a drive. "This requires 2 biometric signals to open, one from each of you." Chelsea blinked. Why would our father design something like that? Kane didn't answer right away. He touched the cold steel and whispered, "Because he knew one day, the only people he could trust were you." They placed their hands on the scanner. The vault opened with a hiss. Inside was no painting, only a single device the size of a cigarette box and an old voice recorder. Kane lifted it, pressed play. Their father's voice crackled through, low, urgent. "If you're hearing this, it means I failed to bury it deep enough. The painting, the silent choir, wasn't just a kill switch. It's a blueprint, a war code, NATO tech buried in pigment, triggered by thought patterns. I used Sandra's readings to encode it. But the real key is Chelsea. The encryption won't work without both of you. If Victor gets it, it won't just be intel. It'll be power. Nations will fall." Chelsea stumbled back. "I'm the key? He used me without telling me?" Sandra touched her shoulder, but there was pain in her eyes too. "We were just kids. He made us weapons." Kane checked the signal. "Someone's here. He found us." Outside the bell tower, Victor stood calmly, watching the building through binoculars. "They're inside," he said. A tall woman in a black coat stepped beside him. Her features were sharp, familiar. "Should I engage?" she asked. Victor smiled. "No, not yet. Let them find the truth. Let them dig. The deeper they go, the more it'll break them." He turned to the woman. "Soon, Chelsea and Sandra will realize the most painful truth isn't what their father did." He handed her an old photo, the twins, and her. "It's who their mother really is." The floor beneath the vault shuddered. Dust rained from the ceiling. Chelsea grabbed the device and the recorder, her fingers cold, her mind colder. "He knew," she said. "He knew this would happen." Sandra paced, teeth clenched. "He didn't just make us the key. He made us the weapon. Kane swept his arm over a set of old maps taped to the wall. One, marked with red ink, circled a mountain village near the Polish border. "The painting's there," he said. "Your father sent it to an old NATO fallback base. If we get there first, we destroy it. If Victor does, he turns the world off." Chelsea's eyes didn't leave the recorder. He lied to us, trained us without consent, made us into something we never asked to be. Sandra's voice cracked. "So what now? We do what he wanted?" Kane's voice was iron. "You do what you want. But if you run, people will die." Chelsea looked up, steady now. "Then we finish it." A single stone chapel sat at the edge of the forest. Snow fell in slow, haunting spirals. Inside, behind the altar, lay the silent choir, wrapped in wax cloth, untouched, waiting. Chelsea approached it slowly. She felt its pulse before she saw it. The symbols beneath the paint weren't just encryption, they were alive, shifting as if aware of her presence. Sandra held the device. "This ends here." "Does it?" came a voice from the shadows. They spun, weapons drawn. The woman in the black coat stepped forward. She removed her glasses, letting her long, dark hair fall free. It was like looking into a warped mirror. Sandra whispered, "No." The woman smiled sadly. "You look just like me at your age." Chelsea's throat went dry. "That's not possible. Our mother died when we were 6. "She disappeared," the woman corrected. "Because I had to. Because your father made choices I couldn't follow." She stepped closer. "He trained you. I created the encryption, the mind scan tech. You are both my legacy." Sandra shook her head. "You're lying." "I'm not," she said. "But I am here to take the painting. And if you don't give it to me, Victor will." A soft click. Victor stepped in behind her, pistol aimed. "I gave her a chance to claim her work," he said, "and now I'll take it by force." Kane raised his weapon. Standoff. Then everything happened fast. Gunfire, glass, screams. Kane took a bullet to the shoulder. Chelsea dove over the painting, shielding it. Sandra tackled her mother, both women crashing into the pews. Victor turned his gun toward Chelsea, and she activated the painting. A pulse of energy surged from it, blinding, soundless, devastating. Victor screamed, clutching his head. The encryption triggered, but not to his design. The kill switch collapsed in on itself, data folding, burning. The painting died. So did Victor, brain fried by the feedback loop. Silence fell. Sandra helped her mother to her knees. The woman stared, dazed, blood at the corner of her mouth. "You stopped it," she whispered. "You did what we couldn't." Chelsea stood, her hands still glowing faintly. "We weren't made to be weapons." "No," Sandra said, stepping beside her. "We made ourselves human." Kane patched up, leaned against the hatch of a private jet. Sandra handed him a satchel, data from the vault, the last of the tech that could hurt anyone. "It's over," she said. "For now," he replied. "But you two changed everything." Chelsea stood at the top of the ramp. "So what do we do now?" Kane smiled. "Whatever the hell you want." A new painting hangs in a private vault somewhere in Marrakesh. 2 women, back to back. One holds a flame, the other a mirror. On the plaque below it, "Born of war, forged in truth, bound by blood." The world doesn't know their names, but it will.